Welcome, everyone, to our breakdown of the 2022-23 men's basketball preseason AP Top 25 poll. I'm Andy Katz. Well, we're going to look at the poll, top 10, top 25. I'm going to take your questions. So this really feels like the tip-off point of the season. We've already had some national media days over the last couple of weeks, West Coast Conference in Las Vegas. 2 weeks ago, last week, the Big Ten in Minnesota. The ACC was in Charlotte. Big East and SEC this week, Pac-12 next week in terms of some of the major ones. So everything's starting to happen, and really this feels like the tip-off point with games beginning on November 7th, 21 days, 3 weeks from tonight. So, number one team in the country, North Carolina. First time in 3 years, it's not Gonzaga. Gonzaga checking in at number 2. I'm going to go back to these here in a second. Houston 3, Kentucky 4, Baylor 5. Reigning national champs, tied for 5, Kansas, then 7, Duke, new head coach John Shire, taking over for the iconic Hall of Famer Mike Krzyzewski, UCLA at 8, Creighton, the pick in the Big East at 9, and then Arkansas at 10. We'll get to the rest of this momentarily. So let's first peel this back a little bit. Okay, North Carolina went on an incredible run last season in Hubert Davis's first year as head coach, taking over for Roy Williams. They ended the regular season, I was there for that, at Cameron Indoor Stadium, beating Duke and Mike Krzyzewski in his final game at Cameron. They then didn't win the ACC tournament, Virginia Tech did, but went on a great run to the Final Four and beat Duke, first time ever they met in the national semifinals. In the semifinals, so they actually handed Coach K his last 2 losses, Carolina did. 2 of his 3 losses because Duke lost to Virginia Tech, but in the series. And then they lost to Kansas in a game that I think you can make a strong argument, not taking anything away from Kansas, but had Armando Bacot not hurt his ankle, kind of wondering if Kansas would have had an answer for Bacot in the last parts of that game. He was not the same. They kind of played to that weakness of Carolina down the stretch, and they won. So North Carolina, number 1. I want to address one thing. We're going to get to some questions I said momentarily. Why North Carolina is different than last year's UCLA, because I've seen this online. Number 1, the UCLA team that got to the Final Four during the COVID year in the bubble, remember, came from the first 4. And Johnny Juzang had an unbelievable run. And yes, most of that team came back. I was one of the people that had UCLA as a preseason 1 and thought they were going to continue that. They did not. They still had a great season, by the way, losing to North Carolina in New Jersey. So they had a chance, in Philadelphia in the Sweet 16. So they had a chance to get to the Final Four in that bracket. Had they beaten North Carolina, they would have played St. Peter's, which upset Purdue. So UCLA did get back into position but to possibly get to the Final Four. But I just think this Carolina team is better prepared for a couple of reasons. 1, 4 of their 5 starters essentially are back. And the Brady Manick piece was replaced by Pete Nance from Northwestern. And I would argue they could be interchangeable. So I think they did one of the best jobs in the transfer portal, getting someone like Nance, who's going to be a spot-up shooter. I love the pickup. And so I think everything is in place, Hubert Davis's second season, for them to be deserving of the number 1 ranking. Gonzaga at 2. Yes, they lost Chet Holmgren, but I'm going to argue the bigger loss is Andrew Nembhard, their starting point guard, because they got Drew Timme back. And Drew Timme is going to be a first-team All-American, compete for the National Player of the Year honor. So the question is, Julian Strawther is going to be, I think, a next-level player from what he was last season. So that's big for them. Rasheer Bolton is back as a veteran player. The question is, who will be that lead guard they can count on? Will it be Bolton? Will it be Nolan Hickman? They've got options. The question is, who will take the reins from Nembhard, who wasn't just a playmaker, but he was a great leader for them. So that, I think, is the hesitation. Had Nembhard come back, even without Chet Holmgren, I think you could have made a better argument for Gonzaga maybe to be one, but not at that position, not having, because Carolina with Caleb Love and RJ Davis, so their main, perimeter players, a veteran guy, Leaky Black as a wing, they just have a better backcourt. Houston at 3. Couple of things here. First of all, this centers around Marcus Sasser, who decided to come back after declaring for the NBA draft. The Cougars play some of the best defense in the country. They absolutely shut down almost every opponent in the NCAA tournament. Their issue ended up being scoring. They really did struggle to score in their final game. So, and really at times last season, they weren't fully healthy. So we'll see now, though. I think Sasser will take his game to another level. He's a National Player of the Year candidate right up there with Drew Timme and Oscar Tshiebwe, the reigning champ or reigning Player of the Year. Kentucky has Tshiebwe. They've got Savvy Wheeler back. They've got Toppin. They've got, Damian Collins. They've got so many pieces and a great recruiting class that despite, them losing that first round of St. Peter's and all the teams that are going to challenge them in the SEC that you see on your screen, there's no question that they should be the pick. Here's where it gets interesting, because Baylor lost a lot through the, graduation or eligibility draft, portal, Matthew Meyer going to Illinois. So a lot will depend on the backcourt of Adam Flagler and LJ Cryer, who's not always been healthy. So I kind of feel like Baylor's a little high. I like Kansas returning Jalen Wilson as their go-to. But again, Kansas, they're still the pick. But I think, and we'll talk more the Big 12 this week, but I think the Big 12 certainly is potentially up for grabs with multiple candidates to challenge for the Big 12 title this season. Kansas, I think, will be the pick. There's no question about it. But I'm not surprised with Duke, with their recruiting class, with Derek Whitehead and with Whitehead and Lively and Jeremy Roach back, and their transfers. I love Jacob Grandison, Illinois, that they're there. UCLA, Jaime Jaquez, Tiger Campbell, great 1-2 punch, great recruiting class. Creighton with Ryan Nembhard back, he's healthy, or Ryan Kalkbrenner and Ryan Nembhard. So, there's no question that they're going to be the pick in the Big East. And then Nick Smith, despite the losses, Jalen Williams leaving from Arkansas, Nick Smith, one of the top recruits in the country, puts Arkansas there. I will just say this, and you can see the screens. I want to sort of rattle through them because I want to get your questions. If there's one team from 11 to 25 that I definitely have in my top 10 that is not in the AP top 10, it's Indiana. The Hoosiers, Trace Jackson Davis, National Player of the Year. So right off the bat, he's a first-team All-American. Xavier Johnson, great defender. Race Thompson, ultimate glue guy. Jalen Hood, Shafino, outstanding point guard, freshman, is going to lead Indiana. And they got great pieces from Jordan Geronimo, Tamar Bates, Miller Kopp. They're the pick in the Big Ten. And it's a little weird not to see a Big Ten team in the top 10, but if you're going to pick one, it should be Indiana. All right, so let's go to our chat here, get some reactions here. First off, from at AURELM, where is MSU? I am sure you're talking about Michigan State. I think that is a very good call because the Spartans deserve to be in the top 25 with A.J. Hoggard, Malik Hall, Jaden Akins, Tyson Walker, all back, and Joey Hauser. The issue for them is, do they have an enforcer? Do they have a true big? But I think they should be in there. Or Orelson 92 says Miami and Penn State are the biggest snubs. Miami's an interesting one with Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack, the transfer from K-State. I think Miami definitely has every reason to say they should be a top 25 team. Penn State is actually one of my sleepers. I wouldn't have put them in the top 25. I've got them in my Power 36, but not in the top 25. Noah, the explanation on Houston's ranking, as I said, is Marcus Sasser. He has a legit shot to be National Player of the Year. They defend. They're not going to lose many games at all. So they've proven it under Kelvin Sampson, one of the best developers of talent. Zen Cha says the defending champ should always start as number one. No, you can't do that. Not in this era of early entry, transfer portal. You can't. And by the way, little pet peeve of mine, it's a reigning champ because for that reason. A defending champ to me is essentially the same team. You're defending the same title that you had. And it's not the same team. So it's a big burden to put on a team to defend it. It's more the reigning champ for that year. All right, let's go. I want to revisit 11 to 25. Tennessee, once again, lost Kennedy Chandler, but outstanding recruiting class. They've got a core group back, and Rick Barnes has proven that they're a team that certainly can be in contention at the top of the SEC. Texas, with Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr in terms of their backcourt, they're back. Transfer from Iowa State and Carr. So they're intriguing to me, and they're going to be a team that's going to be competing near the top of the Big 12. I mentioned Indiana. I think they should be in the top 10. TCU with Mike Miles. You know, if there's a team not named Texas, Baylor, or Kansas that could be picked to win the Big 12 and a Player of the Year, it's TCU. I think TCU legitimately could make a case to be in the top 10. And I think they might have a couple of cameos there. Auburn lost a lot with Jabari Smith, obviously, a top 3 pick, but the style of play is going to be there. They're going to be incredibly difficult to beat at home. They're just going to cause you havoc. Villanova, very interesting, because how healthy will they be? That's still a TBD. And Kyle Neptune. I think Villanova is a 16 based on a little bit of reputation. I think that's a little high for Villanova, to be honest. Because I'm going to tell you a Big East team that's not on this list that I think would finish higher based on who they have coming back, and that's UConn. So, behind Creighton, I think UConn could make more of a stake, claim more of a stake to be in the top 25. Arizona lost a ton. Kerr Creasy is back. Kerr Creasy. So, look, again, this is a lot of faith in Tommy Lloyd and their recruiting class that they're in the top 25. I think it's a little high. Virginia, essentially their whole team back. Kihei Clark is the holdover from the national champs. I like this pick, because they're a team that not going to beat themselves. They're going to be driven after not making the NCAA tournament last year, losing in the NIT. So, yes, deserved. San Diego State, Matt Bradley back. Great defensive team. But I'm going to tell you that as much as I love San Diego State, I would keep them in the top 25. But if I'm going to add another Mountain West team, it's Wyoming. Hunter Maldonado and Graham Ike have returned for the Cowboys. They made the NCAA tournament before losing to Indiana and Dayton. So I like the Cowboys. Alabama, again, lost a lot. But they bring in Sears from Ohio. That's Ohio University. And this is a good recruiting class, a lot of faith in Nate Oates to keep the Tide near the top of the SEC. Oregon, it was like the first time that Dana Altman didn't get everything clicking late in the season. He almost always does. Richardson's back for them. I do think the Ducks will be in the top 3 in the Pac-12, maybe challenge for that title. I like UCLA. The team's not here from the Pac-12 that I actually, you might have over Oregon as USC. Drew Peterson's back. I like this Trojan team maybe a little bit more than Oregon in terms of what's returning. Michigan, Hunter Dickinson, Terrence Williams, outstanding recruiting class. They're going to be a work in progress. Hunter's the only returning starter, but I like that Michigan's there, but I would have Illinois ahead of them because Illinois, and I would actually have Illinois higher with Terrence Shannon Jr., transfer from Texas Tech. So I would have them higher. Sky Clark, outstanding point guard, freshman. And then you've got Coleman Hawkins, Matthew Meyer, I mentioned Baylor to Illinois. So I would have Illinois higher, above Michigan, higher in this poll. Dayton, 2 of the best freshmen in the country last season. And the Flyers are the pick in the A-10 over St. Louis and Richmond. They had their media day last week at the Barclays Center. I like the Dayton pick, and I think Dayton's going to be not as good as a couple years ago in 2020, where they would have been a number 1 seed with Obi Toppin had the tournament not been canceled. So now 3 tournaments later, so that was 20, 21, 22, 23, they're going to be a high seed in March. And then Texas Tech. The combination of Kevin O'Banner, remember him from 2 years ago, Sweet 16 from Oral Roberts. He's been at Texas Tech now, second season. And then Fardaws Aimaq from Utah Valley. Remember that name. He will be a stat stuffer, which he was for them. They had a great upset over BYU, and he's going to put up great numbers in the Big 12. He's got a Big 12 body, very physical. So I like the Texas Tech pick in the bottom part of the top 25. All right, let's go back to some of these questions. Orelson, I want to get to some others, but I mentioned Hoosiers at 13. Yes, IU is the best team in the Big Ten preseason. We'll see if it holds, so they should have been higher. No cap, I don't agree that the Hogs should be top 3. Got to prove it. They lost a lot. Carson Campbell on Bama being low, I actually feel like that's, fine for them. Chad Jr. 12, where are the Knowles? Florida State is going to be an interesting work in progress. Leonard Hamilton, the ageless one, he's not going anywhere, and I think they will be back in the tournament, but I think they're going to be fluctuating in and out of the top 25. Oklahoma, Slim Guard. Oklahoma's an interesting team in that I want to wait and see. I've had Oklahoma in and out of my Power 36 since the end of last season. I think Porter Moser, an outstanding coach, will have them in position to be in the tournament. But I want to take a wait and see approach before I put them in. I want to see them in the non-conference a little bit more, but they're right on the cusp. Kitty Cat Softness, interesting handle. Who do I think is the biggest snub so far? So I would say probably, I'm going to give you a couple of candidates. I've mentioned them just now. Michigan State out of the Big Ten. UConn out of the Big East. And I'm going to get 2 more. USC out of the Pac-12. Florida out of the SEC, because I love the combination of Kyle Lofton, the transfer from St. Bonaventure, Colin Castleton back for new coach Todd Golden. And if I give you 1 more, 2 more, Miami we mentioned, and then Wyoming, as I mentioned. At King, do you think Duke outside of the top 5 is because of the unknown with Shire? Because this recruiting class with K would have been a top 3 Duke team in recent years. No. Well, I think it plays in that, but they lost a lot. I mean, basically everyone except for Jeremy Roach. So, no, I don't. I think it's a fair assessment. I saw them practice on day one. Yeah, they're going to be really good. But even if Coach K was there, is that a spot or two? Maybe, but it's essentially a new team plus Roach and a couple of transfers. Aiden DeJack, thoughts on Oklahoma State? Again, like Oklahoma, I think Mike Boynton will have this group back in position to be in the tournament, but they lost a lot too. Isaac Likely is off at Ohio State. So I think it's fair to keep them out, but I think they'll make their appearances. GP22, who's your pick to come out of the Pac-12? It's UCLA. Let's go Heels. Dude, what is 14 to 25? TCU that high, Michigan that low, Dayton, San Diego State, Virginia that high. Yeah, we addressed it. I think TCU actually could be higher because they really should have beaten Arizona. And, not surprised at all that they're a top 15 team. Michigan only returns Hunter Dickinson for the most part in terms of core guys. So they might be, maybe they shouldn't even be in, but I would have Illinois over them. Dayton could be higher. San Diego State, I think there's where they should be. In Virginia, a lot of that is based on everyone back, and then the fact that they missed it last year. Tony Bennett's not going to miss 2 years in a row. So again, could you play with the numbers on that about where they are? Sure, all legitimate to challenge that. Here's what I love about this is that, there's some questions that we're getting here on the right side of your screen as well. Boss Manjo, where is Ohio State? I think the Buckeyes are going to rely heavily on transfers. Tanner Holden from Wright State, they're expecting a lot from him. Likely, as I mentioned, got to wait to see a little bit more. A bunch of consonants there. Is there too much hype on Carolina? No. Why should there be? Why shouldn't there be? There's no question that Carolina should be number one. Why am I so high on Houston? Because they've proven it time and time again. Every time we dismiss them, they're right back where they prove to be, which is near the top or at the top of the American, heading to the Big 12 in a year, and they're going to fit right in. It's amazing how the timing of this, you think about 10 years ago, this Houston program, there was no way they were ready to move to the Big 12. No way. This Houston team in the Big 12 would be picked to win it. So, there's no question that the timing is great for them. And Kelvin, he keeps getting younger, it seems, so he's not going anywhere. Arkansas, as I mentioned, I think they're going to be, Musselman does a great job of developing talent. It's a young team, loaded team. Be interested to see those Rhode Island transfers, how well they play. Maryland, Rhode Island, they're still trying to find their way, the brothers, just to sort of get, find their footing in college basketball. Jay Platt, look, Illinois, I think, will challenge Indiana for the Big Ten title. So there's no question they could be higher. I told you Indiana, I think, has a Final Four caliber team. Whether or not they get there, that's a question. Kentucky, there's no question that they've got a team that could get to the Final Four after what happened in St. Peter's. Someone mentioned Xavier. I saw that flying by. Sean Miller has a team that I think will make it a cameo in the top 25 and be in the tournament. Wyoming got a pop there on the right side of our screen. I think Wyoming's a top 25 team. I agree with UConn. They should be in. So here's the thing. As I told you, the snubs. Remember, USC should be in Pac-12. Wyoming, Mountain West, in. UConn, in. That's 3. Florida, in. SEC, that's 4. Miami, ACC, that's 5. Those 5 legitimately could be in this poll. So who do you take out? I would probably take out Michigan, Villanova, Arizona, Oregon, and if I got to pull one more, I may take a wait and see on Alabama. If I was to pull 5 out from this poll and put those 5 in, that's probably what I would do. All right. So this is the AP Top 25 preseason poll. Season starts 3 weeks from today, November 7th. It's a Monday. Later that week, Michigan State versus Gonzaga, Friday, November 11th in San Diego. Brings back great memories. I was there on that game on 11/11/11, Michigan State, North Carolina, on the USS Carl Vinson in San Diego. I'll be back for that one, reporting for all of you. So I will be there for that game. There's no question that'll be a great way to really sort of tip off the season. And then sort of the unofficial tip-off, November 15th, Champions Classic. Always a great event with Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, and Kansas. The reason actually it's the 15th and not the 8th this year, and this will happen, it may happen every even year, which are obviously major election years, midterms, and presidential, but it made sense. They don't want to have an event like that on a major election night. So, hey, it's about ratings. So it makes sense. So November 8th will be just a regular season night. November 15th, the following Tuesday, is when the Champions Classic will be on. And then there's great events later that week, all, feast week that following week, and we go on and on. So North Carolina, your preseason #1 team in the country. I agree with it. They are a Final Four title favorite. Appreciate all your time, all your questions, watching us here, and stay to all these social media platforms throughout the course of the season. We're going to be dissecting all of it from now until the Final Four in Houston. Thanks for watching, everyone.